Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. And today we have another special broadcast. I started off last week, no, actually Monday, talking about Women's History Month. Every year in the month of March, the international community gets together and we celebrate women's history. It is meant to celebrate the fact of the women, the genius of the woman, the fact that women are equal, the fact that women deserve to be treated with respect, the fact that women, their place in this community ought to be respected, and many more. You can add whatever you want to add to that. Generally, we want to look at the topic of today from a different lens. Our topic for today is domestic violence, a cancer in our community. Domestic violence, a cancer in our community. And there are many people who have, had different broadcasts about domestic violence within our community. There are videos that are circulating of men who are beating women, men who have shot their wives. In the United States, there are famous videos of men who, because they are not comfortable in their own skin, their wives have become nurses, making big money, and they have decided, we have seen all of those. But today is going to be a little different, a little special, because this is something that is personal. And I entitled this broadcast today, even though it's domestic violence, I said, let's celebrate Women's History Month by combating domestic violence. Let's celebrate by combating. Let's celebrate by fighting. If you are a man, you have a woman, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a mother, let's all rise. But it's not going to be a man talking about it today. We have a woman who is going to be talking to us about domestic violence. And this is because there is an experience that we want to highlight coming directly from Cameroon in Africa. This is a personal story. This is something that you will not find on any other show. But again, I want to warn you, we're going to be broadcasting some pictures here. They're graphic. This is a personal story. The victim is, of course, not able to come on air, but a family member, one who shares in that pain, is able to articulate that. And I'm very grateful to our guests for tonight, Dr. Emelda Ntinglet, for reaching out and for accepting to come on air live in order to talk about this very difficult, this very sensitive topic. And I want to say it because very often when we want to talk about domestic violence, people say, hey, men too are abused. Of course, there are. The statistics say 1 in 3 women face violence, abuse of some sort. 1 in 4 men. I was kind of very concerned when I saw that number, isn't it? So you have 45% of women face this, but 40% of men. But since we're dealing with Women's History Month, let's focus on the women. And again, like I said, Dr. Emelda, thank you for coming on. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Baum. Thank
How are
you
you?
to the audience. I appreciate you for bringing me on live on your show. My name again is Dr. Emelda Ntinglet, a women's advocate and one who speaks against domestic violence and any violence of some sort, irrespective of whether it's on women or men. Violence, it's not something that we need to talk about positively. Hence, we need to shun against such things. Again, Mr. Baum, thank you for having me here to talk about something that's personal.
So let's back up a little bit. Domestic violence is easy to talk about because of pictures, because of videos. You defined yourself as a women's advocate. So in general, what are you advocating for? What is it about women that you're advocating for?
Considering that I'm a woman and most women go through a lot of trouble, be it whether they are caused by the women or not, it's always good that we speak out for this weaker link of human beings. Women, majority of them are considered weak. And I am an advocate just to be able to put out there the things that women do face that are very challenging to them. And it doesn't mean that I don't speak about, or I'm not advocating for men, but the fact that when the women encounter any such trauma or in any situation, it becomes very fatal, especially the scenario that we're going to be talking about today. And that's why I decided to come up as a proponent to make sure that we defy such actions in our community, let alone attacks that will render these women weak for the rest of their lives, pretty much.
So before again, I'm so sorry. Let's at least build it up gradually before we get to that point. But again, so this is something that is, I want to say, prevalent in our African communities. I mean, the difference with our current communities is that many women don't talk about it. In Africa, women are beaten up every day. For some, I mean, there's been some stories about cultures in Cameroon where if you are married and your husband does not beat you, it means that he does not like you. Kind of strange. But so what is the point? What is it we are trying to get out today? What's that courage that women need to come up?
Mr. Mbom, thank you so much for that question. And the victim in question of today is one who is facing such problems, whereby she believes that if she's been beaten, she cannot even go out there and speak it out. She cannot boldly even go to the police and report it. I believe it's a cultural expectation. I don't know if the word expectation is correct, but women in the African community, especially those in Cameroon. I mean, I hail from Cameroon, love my country, no doubt. But if you compare the number of people or the number of women who are going through such pain that is being inflicted to them by an intimate partner, and they don't have the voice to go out there and even tell their brothers or sisters, it is very scary. A scenario like this one was never brought to my attention, I believe, because if my niece brought it to my attention, I would have taken it where I've taken it at this point. But she decides to keep it with her. And this is a situation that has replicated itself several times to a point where the individual in question, the man in question, of course, have reached out to me during one of my visits to try to plead and beg that, oh, if I can have my wife back, because after one of such beatings, my niece ran for us to rescue her. But after a couple of days, guess what? The guy showed up. And then apparently over the past 2 years, I'm understanding that the beatings have been continuing. Why? Why are you using a woman as a punchbag, as if you are in some kind of a wrestling match game? So I believe it is that most women don't feel like saying it because, again, quote unquote, they will lose their relationship with whoever is beating them up. And the irony about all of this is that the men who engage in such beatings, the perpetrators, they all have women, they have female kids. How will you feel one way or the other one day that child shows up and say that some man was beating on me? I just cannot fathom telling you that I don't understand why these women who are victims of this domestic violence, physical abuse, do not come up straight up and tell one person or the other, or even get through to the authorities.
So thank you. And again, there's somebody on LinkedIn who just indicated, please remember that physical violence is not the only form of abuse. We'll get to that. But I like us, let's back up a little bit. We are talking about something that happened in Cameroon. Give context to the audience. We have the permission to get the nieces. So define for us who this person is, what their name is, where they are.
Absolutely. Of course, as you and I spoke with my niece and she gave us permission, her name is Clementine Ate Ngando. She's married to a man that we so much loved, Mr. Ngando. They live in Kribi, in a specific area called Nyete. But I cannot understand what is happening. I don't even know why my niece is going through this trouble. The pictures are very graphic. When I looked at them, and probably that's why she never sent them to me directly, I cried. Maybe people will say I'm very emotional, but for anybody to beat someone, and for some reason, Mr. Lambom, it seems as if this individual has a tendency to target but my niece's eyes. So I'm not sure if I don't know the rationale behind all of this and the reason behind such beatings, where you target environments or areas of the person's facial outlook in an effort to just totally get rid of that person or make the person not look physically appealing again. I just cannot tell. Again, to the audience, let them know that we're very conversant that domestic violence is granted, it's one type of violence, but it's not only to women. Unfortunately, the women suffer the most. Let me put that as a disclaimer. Let them not say that I'm not saying things to support the men. Totally, I'm against domestic violence or any kind of violence, like one of our, audience actually made mention. And so, Mr. Mbom, as you can tell, um, like I mentioned again, Clementine Gando is in Kribi Inyete. That's correct. Thank you for highlighting that. So that's the individual we're going to be talking about today. And hopefully the pictures will speak for themselves, will speak volume. And those of us who are advocates for women and also men as well, but against domestic violence, please, let's take note of what's happening here and try not to replicate such in our own environment, and let alone to the people that we do love.
So again, like I said, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So let's get back. I seem to have lost you for a little bit. So again, your niece, how long have they been married? How many kids do they have?
They have over 3 kids, at least 3 kids. They've been married for quite a long time, and the beatings, from what I heard, have been going on for quite a while.
So this is a man who is married to your niece, and they are based in Kribi, Niete, and I think I heard is along where you have Evecam. I think that's a company.
Correct.
And the man keeps beating. So I'm going to post the pictures very soon. I'm just waiting for it to load up so that I can get that out. But so again, it's kind of painful because you find that this is somebody who is enduring. They have beaten her many times. And the time we were speaking to her, I think she had just suffered the recent incident. She went away and then she just came back and the man said something. What is that? What is going on there?
Well, like I say, some of these victims of domestic violence, you and I cannot believe and or expect and or even tell what's happening with them. We don't know whether their mental states are okay. Because in this particular case, my niece ran to her children, Mr. Ngando's kids, away from the area they were. All of a sudden, she packed her bag. She was going back there. And not saying that anybody should run away from their marital home, but the beatings occur not even in their house. My niece ran from the house to a neighbor's house, a neighbor who is also an invalid. Mr. Ngando chased her, and all the wounds that will be displayed here were gotten at another, in a neighbor's house, whereby he shoved the neighbor away and continued to punch this girl. I'm speaking like this. I don't even have the energy and the strength to go over it, but I cannot tell you what's making her go back, her flimsy excuses. She wants to go back and try to get her things before. I'm sorry, but that's what we're going through. Mr.
Right.
Brown.
So again, the problem with this violence, I mean, again, is common. I call it with relationships in general, that people always hope that it's going to be better, isn't it? People are hoping that, okay, maybe something just overcame him at that time, something happened, then they want to go back and work. We put a premium on our relationships. And I know on the forum that you and I, a common forum where we belong to, somebody said there was a lady who was saying it is better to die as a Mrs. than to die as a single person because somebody, and that's one of the most crazy things I ever heard. But it points to that culture where there's a high tolerance because people are afraid of what is society going to say about me, isn't it? You run to your parents' home, they say, well, when the man came and got married to you, we shut down the door, so you have to try to go back. So I'm wondering, in your experience as a woman, what is it that is going on that people do not find it easy to just break that cycle and say, I am done? When it happens once, that's a mistake. If it happens twice, it's one time too many. What is happening to our women? What is it that is preventing them from, really just taking up the challenge to move away? And again, you have spoken about this, but based on where they are, isn't it? Creepy. I guess she's looking forward to what are the alternatives? What are the alternatives for me?
You are quite correct, Mr. Bond, for actually asking that question. What are the alternatives? But let me go back to the cyclical cult that women and other family members get caught into. They get entrapped into this whole thing that, yes, biblically speaking, when you are married for good. And if there's anything happening in that light, you try to seek counseling, be it from an elderly person who will mediate, and hopefully whoever the perpetrator is will genuinely state that they will not do this again. And let me take you to something, Mr. Baum. Sometimes we look at some of these perpetrators thinking that they are inflicting such pain on these individuals from their own making. Not necessarily. They might be coming from a background where there was violence that they experienced or they saw for themselves, how their parents were treating their mothers, or somebody in their lives have been doing such a thing, and they felt that that's a good way of handling matters going forward, or maintaining their position as someone in control. Because I believe that that's exactly what's happening. And then for a case like this one, like I mentioned earlier, 2 years ago, this same individual, as a matter of fact, my niece ran to my rescue while I was in Cameroon. And we stayed there for about a week, 2 weeks. The husband now showed up, came there with the entire family, okay? He brings his entourage to plead that, please let my wife come. To me, I'm looking at it at this time as if his pleadings were to get this woman come back so he can continue punching her as if they are in some boxing match, because if the way this man swore that it will never happen again, you would think, as a matter of fact, he became my own best buddy from that time on, to a point where my niece shied away from mentioning any problems they have in their house, which of course you shouldn't tell your family what's happening. But I had made mention emphatically clear: no beatings. You cannot be beating somebody you love, somebody you've become intimate with, somebody with whom you've made children. And lo and behold, unfortunately for Mr. Ngando, who keeps beating and punching my niece, he has all girls. This with my niece. Maybe he has some other guys out there, But how will you feel when these girls come back home one day and tell you that their husbands were beating on them? I'm not sure how he's going to take it. From what I've learned and carrying on my research, I realize that these are the individuals who currently beat on their own wives, who will go after any man who touches their girl or female children. So I'm not sure what is making her come back to stay there. Maybe again, just because she wants to maintain that name that I'm married. Well, anybody who wants to keep that name that they are married, going through torture and beatings, I am not a victim. I will not tell you that a man is beating me or has beaten on me. Thank God for that. But I don't stand here to recommend that any woman who is going through such beatings should stay there just because they are married. Remember, marriage is good. We have been married, we'll be married again. So it doesn't mean that it stops right there. But please, you cannot allow yourself to be beaten. Seek for help. If that help is not coming, please, if it means that you get away, please get away. But let me tell you what through my research, of course, as a researcher, I found out that a lot of them who feel shy of making their all the beatings known by people who are out there is because they are afraid after making that known or public, it's even going to get worse. But not in this day and age of technology and the day and age or an era where women are protected, men are equally protected from such violence. So please, I don't think there is any public entity that's going to be out there that will not protect you if you come forth to make mention that your significant other, your partner, your whoever is beating on you. It does not call for that at this time. So we want to just make sure that it's made known, at least seek for help if the need arises.
So again, that's great, but you also have to understand. You and I are here in the United States, and there's a hotline for abuse. In fact, I only found that out today when I was researching and preparing for this, isn't it? There is a hotline for people who are suffering from abuse of any sort, intimate partner abuse. That's what it's called. In Cameroon, it becomes challenging, isn't it? This a lady who is in, I mean, that's your niece, and she's even hiding it from you because she's looking at the relationship between you and her husband and saying maybe it's going to cause a rift, isn't it? And so it becomes, and maybe that's the question that Javens is posting. Is cohesion a part of it if the victim feels like they can't leave? Yeah, I mean, for many people, when you have that kind of you are living in a relationship, you are married, and the man is the breadwinner, and you are like, when I leave, where do I go to? And to be honest, when I talked to your niece, the time we're questioning, the short time we spoke, the thing she said was, I need help to move away from this man. I need help to move away. And it really struck because she feels helpless, isn't it? Maybe she feels that she's burdening her own children at this point. She doesn't know where to turn to. And that is why I willingly decided to do this broadcast almost immediately, because this is somebody who is in danger. This is a woman who is in danger. She is in Kribi. And please, if there's anybody who watches this show, is watching, and thinks that you can help this lady get to some part where she is, free, please, I'm going to put my number. I'll put Dr. Tinglet's number to call so that we can do something. Please. And nobody should ever feel trapped. You should not feel trapped in any marriage, any relationship. Should not. Yes, you have kids, but that's not the end of the world, isn't it? There are many reasons why. Marriage is supposed to be a happy thing, isn't it? Happy. But when we go there and it becomes a boxing match, it becomes difficult. But again, I'm talking from a man's perspective. What are some of the things that you encourage women to do, especially in Cameroon, in a place like Cameroon where help is difficult to come by, in terms of what, at this point, your niece is in trouble? Okay, she's been beaten by the husband many times. The last time you saw this was 2 years ago, but I'm sure in between these 2 years, yes, she has been beaten many more times, and she has just not told you. And I'm even surprised she said she hid this from you, and you only saw pictures and decided to take action. And that's the most important. I really want to commend you, Dr. Ting. I really want to commend you for this, because some people will take it and want to go, and you said, I really want to go public. We need to put this out, and we are out and talking about it. But what are some of the little steps you encourage women, married women, young girls in relationships? What do you think they should be doing in order to break away from this cycle?
Well, Mr. Lambom, thanks for asking that question. It's very pertinent. I would like to make mention to a lot of our young ones, those who just got married. Even if you've been in marriage for quite some time, you really don't know when the unexpected is going to happen. So the people that you can go to, your immediate family members, are it's basically your parents, your own home. Go to them, because regardless, they will not sit there to see you die in a relationship because you are married. No, not at all. And outside of that, make sure you have one or two persons, even a phone number that you can call up to. Unfortunately, if you have a strong guy like with whom you live in a small community, like the Nyete area where my niece lives, whereby the husband knows all the police officers. And that's one thing my niece told me. Yes, you can see that. They punched the girl's face, and I just don't like seeing it, because anyway, the punches that she endured in her face could have dislocated her jawbones to a point where she might not even look physically fit. You can see all over her neck. It seems as if the person put her on a chokehold, or whatever the case may be. That's an individual who's been beaten as such. So please do not allow it to get to this stage. If it ever happens, I can't even talk. You need to step out of there, get out, go seek for refuge somewhere. You can even go to the police station if you are in Cameroon. We do have our hotlines here in the United States and the European countries, but I know the victims in Cameroon and other African countries, you feel like you are helpless. Go to the churches. You, of course, you do worship somewhere. I would like you to get out of there and go to your church. I don't believe your pastor or the pastoress will shy away from supporting you or finding a way to help you out. Go to the hospital. My niece right here, if it wasn't for the fact that, things got to this level, she probably would have stayed there thinking, hoping that she will get better. And then to go back with the same man, I mean, come on. I don't care what love is. I know that you guys may be in love, but you don't need to endure such pain. It is just ridiculous to see somebody go through such pain in this world, in this day and age. So my advice to you on the young ones, the older ones who still go through these beatings, please seek for help. And that help primarily should be anybody else neutral. If you come from a family that believes, quote unquote, that marriage is all and all. No, some of us have been married and not there, will be married again. It's not stopping. It's just something that you keep doing. Granted, not something that is allowed by the Bible and or biblical scriptures. Is equally the same as the Bible does not condone with anybody who turns around and is punching their own wife or their husband. Let me not say this and you say I'm focusing only on women. I'm a woman advocate, of course, but we do know that some men do endure such pain as well. Don't stay in that relationship. You really do not. So seek for help, get out, look for somebody that you confide in, which in this case should be your family member, whereby the pain you endure equally, directly or indirectly impacts them. It should not be your own friends, from the outside that you guys just maintain a platonic relationship or just a friendship that is not really ingrained. I will recommend you go to somebody that your dislocation of your bones or your eye not fully functional in any way, shape, or form will impact them equally, because they will now be the ones to take care of you if the need arises. So please seek for help. Do not sit there. Have a phone number of that one person you can confide in. Be it me, Mr. Lambom, we don't mind. But you do have churches. You do have other women's support groups that you can reach out to, and or somebody that you believe is your mentor, if your family member cannot jump up and help you.
Thank you very much. And Gilbert says, this topic is making me so emotional. Not sure what comes out of beating from couples, especially the man beating the wife. Here we are talking about a jurisdiction where domestic violence and rape are taboo subjects. Sorry about what the lady had gone through, but as a husband and a parent with a daughter, if somebody were to put their hands on my daughter, and thank God she has 3 brothers, so if they do not take care of it, then I will, and trust me, I'll be going to college after that. I'm sure the kind of college she's talking about, we all understand. Thank you, Gilbert. Again, let me stop sharing that. So it's a painful thing, looking at the pictures. So you start with the eye, then you go to the back and you go to the leg. So I'm wondering, is it an animal that the man is beating? What is really going on? What is it? I don't see how somebody punches you, beats you up like that, and then you still have to go back. But like we have said, we don't understand all the circumstances around it. Not that those circumstances at this time matter, because it is not the first time. And like we keep saying it, if it's a habit, then you are going to die. The man is going to beat you to death. And that's one thing she said, that the husband told her he's either going to make her mad or kill her. Those are no words that you play with. When the man tells you that, it means there's something going on.
Mr. Lambom, sorry to interject real quick. I just wanted to underscore that part of a threat. I've been a victim of a threat right now as we speak. And I will go further to underscore to women, men equally. If somebody just says, you go see, I'm telling you, that is considered a threat. And like I said, I'm not a victim of domestic violence, but I'm a victim of a threat that if I did not take it upon my hands, I probably will not have my life as you and I speak today. I'm not going to expatiate on that, but you were there, you heard her, and she was saying that the husband says, like you just mentioned. So it seems as if she's entrapped in this whole, I'm going to call it some kind of like a cult type thing, because when I spoke to her individually, she indicated that This man is into this medicines here and there. Oh, it seems as if her head is being taken over by other things than just the love that you and I will manifest in a relationship that calls for us to do everything to try to be there. And if that's the case, if anybody is experiencing that, please, again, find somewhere to go. And anybody who is around such individuals, I'm begging and I'm appealing, reach out to those individuals. They are looking for someone to help them. The flimsy excuse my niece gave me was, I asked her, why did you leave your daughters from Yaoundé and you're going back to Nyete or wherever they are in Kribi? She said, well, oh, the job that she has right now, she has to keep that job. I said, why don't you look for the same, seek for transfer, even if it's to Moyoka or wherever, somewhere away from the husband. He says, oh, whoever gives them the job, whatever job she mentioned at that point, she's a teacher, no doubt, in elementary school there in one of the camps. She believes that she cannot see and find another job somewhere else. And that's why she's trapped in that particular situation with this so-called beast that is pounding on her, hitting her eyes. I mean, come on. I don't understand, Mr. Mbom.
Yeah, so again, I think that many of us have interpreted the for better, for worse thing to a certain degree, which is really poor. We can't. This is not in this modern age. Not even in the early age was this tolerated, isn't it? It's nobody should tolerate this kind of nonsense. That a man consistently beats up a wife, and not just beating, but leaving marks on her body. Her eyes are almost like, look at her face. Look at her face. She's almost deformed. And she has the courage. I call it courage. The courage to go back to that same place, even with the threats. And we are now hearing it's because she's afraid she's going to lose a job. And these things are real. Unemployment is real. But then, which is better? That's why at times we have to go back and be looking at these scriptures when they say which one is better. Is it better to enter the kingdom of heaven with just one arm? But I think it's better for you to leave and be without a job than to go to a place and have a job where you eventually end up dying. Because again, this is where you are heading to. I hope that your niece is on watching or listening, please.
Yes.
And like we said, this is an urgent appeal for help for a woman who has 3 kids, whose kids are in Yaoundé. She is currently based in Kribi, constantly being beaten by the husband. We just put up pictures here. She needs help. And unfortunately, the point is we are all talking here from the United States. Both of us are here in the US. We are based in Maryland. Please, if you are in Yaoundé, you are anywhere, you have a job for somebody who can teach, you can get this woman to a place of safety, please. That is why we are doing this show. It's not just to come and talk about. This is real. This is in real time. So please, we are making an appeal. And I mean, from a man's perspective, a lot of these problems come as a result of a lack of anger management. We don't know how to manage our anger, and we have failed to understand the psychology of the woman. It is a course that I think every man should take. None of us is perfect. I'm not a perfect man, isn't it? I'm not. But I believe that part of the problem we are having is many, I don't want to say most, many of us have not learned how to deal with our anger, because that is it. I have, as a matter of principle, learned it. Nobody ever makes another person angry. You don't make any person angry. I say it. So when you say the woman pushed me, the woman did this, the woman said this, I say, listen, when somebody does something to you or says something to you, there are 4 things you can do. You can either go away, you can laugh at it, okay? You can become angry, okay? Or you can actually sit down with the person to say that thing you are saying really makes me angry. Okay? You choose of those 4 things. The 4 options you have, you choose to be angry. So anger is a choice. And you need to note that this thing of, I'm the man in the house, I'm the father, I'm the breadwinner and all that, we need to, come out of that mold, that mentality. The man, the breadwinner, that is what is called, breadwinner. It's not a boxer. They didn't say you are the boxer of the house. You are the breadwinner. And bread is very soft. So if you are winning the bread, make sure you are bringing the bread. How can you, a man, be beating up a woman who has given you those beautiful girls. And like Dr. Tinglet said earlier, most of them are people who have girls, and they will be the ones who will be killing tomorrow because somebody has touched their daughter. So please, again, Dr. Emelda, I don't know. This gets me very emotional too. But
Same here,
it,
Mr. Lambert.
within the context of, what else do we need to be doing as men? Talk to us, the men.
Well, as men, of course, like I say, I've never witnessed and or been a victim of domestic violence, but there are other violence that, for instance, somebody in the audience had actually mentioned that there are different types of violence. But as men, please be conscious of how you treat the women. I mean, granted, I, as a woman, and in many other women out there are ways that we can do things to really probably tick you off. I'm being honest about it. But hey, as a man, of course, do your best when such things happen. Step away. It's not bounding on that person that is your wife, of whom at some point you will come right back and then talk to the person cordially, and you guys will be together. So the men really need to handle matters differently from what they're doing. For if you do have anger management problems, which these days a lot of people do because of one reason or the other, please seek for help. Find out whether there's some kind of an agency or some place where you can go and just speak it out rather than exercise your anger over a weakling, somebody that you once loved or do love. I don't know if it's just the excessive love that you're manifesting it by beating on that individual. I don't think that's the way the Bible that we all do believe in really talks about how you love an individual. Some people even feel like, oh, if they don't beat that individual, they really aren't expressing their love. No, you would do that one day, that person would die in your hands, and then you would turn around to say, oh my gosh, is this really what happened? How could you love someone and then you turn around and use that person as a punching bag, like we just saw in the pictures? And Mr. Baum, at some points too, we really don't want to blame the men per se to an extent. In the case of my niece, I'm really out to blame her. I know she's watching because the kids, meaning my grandnieces, guess what? They've looked for a place for my niece to go and live at. They packed her things, Mr. Baum, and taken them somewhere else. Guess what? She went right back. So what are we going to say? What can we get out of this? Is it one of those medicine things that she felt that she's been entrapped in this relationship with that medicine thing? We think that those things don't exist, but it seems as if some people really use it to their own benefit, of which the so-called husband, Mr. Ngando, who's really my friend, because after he came around and apologized and talked so much about, felt apologetic, was remorseful about the beatings of my niece. Guess what? I took him as somebody who's genuine. This same individual brags in front of my niece and say, you cannot take me to the police because they are all his friends. Okay. So it seems as if even if she goes and complains to to the government officials that are there, oh, they are all Ngando's friends. Ngando will take them and give them one drink or the other, and that's it. They will continue to pound on this girl. So again, I come back to advise the women who are victims of such violence situations or scenarios to please seek for help and step out. It is just traumatizing for any other woman to sit out there and see another woman be victimized in such a way that such individual dealt with a human being. And for you men, I'm not sure, I'm not a man, but I'm hoping that you go through your anger management classes to make sure that you don't exercise or transfer your anger on other people. Maybe if it wasn't my niece that was there, he would have stepped up and started beating on the kids. I don't know what could have happened. And please, if you want to beat your own children, do not touch somebody else's child. That's my niece like right there. Look at her face, Mr. Mbom. I'm so. This is just getting me to a level where I am just appealing to everyone. Please, if you're in Kribi, can you guys find a way and get my niece out of there? I'm struggling. My brothers who are in Cameroon, you guys need to go get her out of there. Whatever it's going to take, Mr. Ngando, let this be the last. I'm telling you, you cannot be beating on her. Please. She has given you beautiful kids. You can take and keep them. Leave my niece alone. She will come back to us and we will handle her as a family member. If you think that she's not loved, please She does have people who love her. Even if it's not me who is her own auntie, I think just people out there following this story will definitely feel remorseful about what she's going through. No woman is supposed to be going through such beatings. So, Mr. Baum, I'm not sure what else to say to the men,
So,
but I'm just appealing to them to curb their anger. If it means you getting out of the house, please step out of the house. Take a few minutes. Just walk away. I mean, that's the internet is there that you can read some of the things that can happen. If you don't want to join an anger management class, if you realize that you have anger, the bad thing there is a lot of them don't know what they are going through. So this is just a cyclical behavior that whoever does it relatively knows nothing that they are going through, that they're not conscious of it at all. So hopefully this is going to send a message out for others to make sure that please, you do everything to shy away from touching a woman. Any man that beats on a woman, you are not respected at all. You really have no say. You have no position in the community, even amongst your friends. People should shy away from you. Like I say, I will attest to it. I've never been a victim of domestic violence as such. Not at all. I mean, like somebody mentioned earlier, there are different ways of domestic violence. Emotional violence is there, and all of that. That's not our focus here. Physical abuse, punching somebody's eyes. Look at the face. Look at her face. It seems as if you just want to get rid of her eye so that when she now goes out there, I'm not going to say that there's anything outside of just the beating. You're doing this so that when this individual walks out there, she's not going to look appealing to another person. No, if you don't want her, let her be. You don't necessarily need a man to survive. No, not at all. It is good to have a man, but gosh, you cannot be beating on someone like this. Those pictures are setting me in tears right now, you know.
yeah. So again, because let me also get to the other part, because we don't have the opportunity to get to the man. We don't understand what is happening with the man, and this is not an excuse for the man. We have already said, hey, there is no reason, none, zero, for why you should ever beat a woman. Zero. We don't know it. But we're also saying, the man, what is wrong with you, Mr. Ngando? I don't know whether you speak English or speak French, but if this ever gets to you, what is wrong with you? You need help, Mr. Ngando. You need help. You really need help. And we have touched on two things here, Dr. Ntinglet, that maybe we're not paying attention to. And I want us to get back to it, because at times those are things that are happening with our community and we are not paying attention. And I'm here referring to the fact that there is some, people look at it and say this is witchcraft, isn't it? But it's not normal. There are people, people are joining these occultic societies in a bid to get power, in a bid to get wealth. And there are things that these secret societies, occultic societies, are asking people to do, isn't it? I'm surprised that in those days we used to hear that they used to ask you to go and bring maybe the claws of a tiger. So that means they are sending you to do something impossible. Or what we now see happening these days. This month, I've seen two videos. One of a man walking naked in broad daylight, isn't it? And really having a conversation with people. And you're wondering, this is something that we saw only with mad people, isn't it? People who were really off and they now decide that's how. But that's one. And then we saw another woman too, moving naked, actually mounting on a bike to be taken to somewhere. But it seems as if there is a presence of the occultic within our community that is demanding that people should do such stupid things. And I'm like, occultic world, what is wrong, Mr. Ngando? Are you joining a secret society that is asking you to kill your wife or do something and send, like we used to say, to Nyongo? What is wrong? What is it? But also back to the second thing I want to point to is what you said about your niece. They have rented a place for her. They have done all this. So it seems as if there is kind of grip. The man has a grip on her. And so the starting point has to be to untangle that. Because no matter what help we give her, no matter what help we seek for her, she seems to love Mr. Ngando so much that there's nothing that is going to take her away except death. And we are saying, how do we deal with these kind of situations? I was going to get a social worker on today, but she didn't come on. But again, these are things that are real in our community. What do we do The one thing that is not happening, and which is one thing that I appreciated about you, is communication. Most of us don't talk. We are ashamed to talk about these things because how are they going to look at my husband? They're going to look at my husband as a wife beater, and then you have taken away his pride. But the man is pounding you. Please don't think about how the man would feel. Think about how you would feel. That's the most important thing. How are you going to feel? It's not about how they are going to look at him. Look at yourself. What can I do? And that is why my friend Divine Chamuko had a broadcast last week about men who are not comfortable with their wives having, graduating and having academic degrees, isn't it? Making more money than them. Those are little things that we men have to now come to terms with, isn't it? We are living in a different world. It's a different reality. Okay, the relationship is not if you make it about the money, you are going to get angry every day and every second. If you make it about competition, those little things are going to happen. You live in America and everybody leaves and goes to work. You come back and want the woman to cook. Who does that? Isn't it? So again, I don't know. I've been talking, but
well, Mr. Baum, let me come in real quick with regards to that. With the occultic, I will really gravitate towards that being this case in this particular scenario, because I don't understand how this man will continuously be beating on the wife, and he is bold enough to say the things that he's saying. Like, she told both of us, it wasn't something that you even heard, but for me, she said she was totally afraid because he said he's either going to kill her, I'm sorry, and or continue to beat on her. I don't understand how somebody can say such things, and then you, the woman, you are still there. I mean, what is it? Is it just the love matter? I don't want to go too far because people will say, okay, I probably don't understand what love is. I sure do, definitely. I mean, the love that I do have goes genuine across the board. And that's why I see somebody who has such pain inflicted on, I've decided to take it upon myself and make it in such a way that we reach out to her to seek her consent first, in an effort to broadcast this, to at least educate others, make you know that you are not alone. But the fact that you continue to go back to this individual, it seems as if you are part of that person who is fostering whatever occult or cults that they are in, and they're trying to satisfy the demands of this occultic association or organizations that they are looking forward to. Because again, I cannot believe that an individual will go through such beatings and shy away from telling the people that you believe are a little bit vocal. Yes, I'm vocal, but that's the way life is. Not everybody is going to sit quiet when you see that somebody is being maltreated. I'm the one person that I will not let that happen. No, it does not matter if it's my family or not my family. We are all one and the same blood. Our blood in our skin is all red, irrespective of the color, race, or whatever. Hence, if you see anyone who is going through such trouble, please don't just sit quiet because that person is not your family. Who really is your family? Do you know who is going to bury you one day? Why is Clementine going through this trouble that she's going through? And then she reaches out to others, and the guy had the nerves to get up the next day and go to her school and say, oh, Clementine is not at school, so if anybody punches in for her, he is going to report to authorities. What kind of control does such a man have? I mean, I don't understand who he really thinks he is at this point, but it seems as if he's been given too many rights, too much control in his own environment, that he believes that he can exert that all over the place. No, it is unacceptable. Again, as a woman's advocate, it's not that I'm just advocating for women per se. It's just because we, the women, will go through a lot. Even a simple threat that a man gives you in the house, just telling you that I will show you, guys, be very careful with such threats. Be very careful. Let alone a man taking their hand and punching at you, threatening you that he could kill you one way or the other, being shooting with your gun or anything of that nature. Do not take it lying down. Don't take it lying down, I emphasize, because again, I will attest to such threats. Be very careful. Let alone manifesting it one way or the other by beating on you, by doing anything that's harmful to hurt you one way or the other. But ladies, I don't know. This also goes to men, because I do understand we do have quite a few of those butches out there that are very strong and they can beat on men. Please do not beat on anybody. You are not the maker. You are not God. Why would God make people, create them, and you have the nerves and the rights to touch on anybody? I don't know how else I can buttress on this matter, but I believe the message is sent, and please take it to whatever length or height you want to.
Yeah, so again, I think even on the one of the social media forums I belong to, there have been some little conversations that come about that were popping up left, right, and center about this. But I really wanted to just be laser focused on this particular case, and just to highlight again the fact that we are dealing here with a case in Cameroon. We are dealing here with a lady who has been, brutally beaten by the husband, and she's going through now not just physical pain, it's also emotional pain, and she's feeling trapped. She wants to leave, but at the same time she does not know where to go to. And I can understand, because I was wondering what was happening, but now I now know that the kids actually got her a place before, and then she came back. So now it's difficult to go back to the kids to say, hey, because everybody's going to say we told you. But again, I think in life we learn from each other. This a moment for all of us. Nobody should feel trapped in any relation. Nowhere in the world should you feel trapped. Whether you have kids or you don't have kids, whether you have money or you don't have money, whether you have a position or you don't have a position, whether you have a title of Mrs., there's no reason to feel trapped. The problem with us very often is we have labels that society has put up, and we are trying to compete. And that is why this one is a Mrs., so I want to be a Mrs. too. And because I want to be a Mrs., therefore I am going to do anything and everything to make sure that it happens. But beyond that, for us men, let's try to be true men. The man is meant to protect the woman. That is what it's supposed to be. Protect, provide, protect, and preserve. That's what we are called to do. And I think it's time for us within our communities, and I don't want to say it's an African problem. It's not. This violence is everywhere. In the United States, there's something called the VAWA, the Violence Against Women's Act, that was passed by Congress and just reauthorized last year. But that also says something about, it's not about race, it's across. White people also beat their wives, isn't it? But we are saying that it is wrong at any level to do any of that. And we're going to take it one step further to say, like Dr. Ntinglet has been stressing here, it is not just physical. There is also emotional. A lot of us abuse our spouses. And last year, when I used to have a weekly show on African men and relationships, there's one thing that we kept talking about with BK from the UK. Women use sex as a weapon against men, isn't it? And then instead of the man trying to deal with that and see how to get the woman to a point, because it means that there's something that is happening. There's something that you are not doing as a man. Because when a woman starts doing that, it means that there's something happening. Instead of looking at that, you start making excuses as to why you want to. All of us have to look for ways. And I love something that you said, Dr. Ntinglet, here. You said women, I mean, they may have, they may become, call it abusive in some sense, the way they talk, the way they react. The man needs to now learn how to get them back into that sweet position where you can now relate. Beating is not one of them. Okay, beating is not. And again, you can go back and watch this. We are going. I mean, it's on the Lambom Show. You can check that out on YouTube or do LinkedIn. I also have it on Facebook. But we wanted to highlight a particular case, Miss Clementine Gando in Kribi Niete in Cameroon, constantly being beaten by the husband, and she is in serious pain now. We just showed some pictures here, and we are appealing for help. Anybody who can help in any fashion, please. And we are also saying, if you are being beaten anywhere in the world, please reach out. I promise to give my number here. So please, if you feel like it, right there, reach out. If you want an email, I'll give you. I put that So please reach out and let's see how we can help not just this particular case. This is urgent, but also let us try to change that mentality. Let's try to change the culture. Let's do a mindset shift so that we don't have this occurring at the level at which it's occurring. Dr. Tinglet, any last words?
Well, I just want to appreciate you bringing me on your show here. And what has been highlighted is domestic violence against women, not specifically, but anybody who is experiencing any kind of violence. Like Mr. Lambert just gave you all his contacts. Please reach out to him or any of us or anybody that you believe can support you. Do not stay in that situation and be hurt or be killed, because ultimately that's what's going to happen. So make it known. Make everyone around you be conversant of it. And to our men and all the people who beat on others, it is not the solution. There are better ways that you can resolve matters than beating on any individual. They weren't born for that purpose. Be it a man or a woman, it is totally unacceptable. Thank you, Mr. Bong.
So I'm not even allowed in the United States to beat my own child. I'm not allowed.
Exactly.
If I beat my child, Child Protective Service is going to be on my door to take me. Okay, take that child away. What more of beating the mother of the child?
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Baum, that's a very good point that you brought up. We are here. Any parent who is trying to beat a child, oh, do you guys take tact to beat them up? Even you, the man, you take tact to beat the woman or the child by beating on their butts so that nobody realizes it. But you will take the time to beat on your own wife to a point where they have scars and everything going on. I don't think that's acceptable. In the United States, we don't condone with such nonsense. I don't know what any other country, be it Africa or wherever, should allow such things to happen. But it seems as if it's prevalent in African cultures and other areas. And it looks like they just take on the women to be a punching bag. It's not acceptable at all. So please, let's try to mimic what we see, especially those of us who are in the Western world. Let's educate our younger ones that are back home. Let them know that some of the things that they go through are unacceptable, even if it's something that they're supposed to believe in and just live with. We need to make them know that they do have rights. They do have people who care for them. They do have even the community that's out there shunning against such behaviors, beatings, brutality, anything of that nature, anything that's outside of what is couth to be done as specified in our Bible. For those of us who do read it, let's try not to do those things. I'm appealing. So as Mr. Mbom and I were going through this particular show, hopefully everybody watched it. I'm just begging and appealing to anyone who is around the Nyete Kribi area to see if you can help out my niece. I don't have that privilege to just jump in the plane and dash out to Cameroon as possible to rescue, but we do have protective services. We do have police. We do have gendarmes. We do have other authorities out there that can step up to help Clementine Ate Ngando, who is in Kribi in the Nyete area. I'm not sure. She probably also needs some kind of counseling, but she is in tremendous pain as we speak. Because today, when Mr. Mboma and I were speaking with her or talking to her before coming to the show, she indicated she's having sharp pain from her back running down to her leg. This might be a spinal injury from the beatings. Who knows? Who knows? She might wind up being paralyzed. We knock on wood that should not happen. But these are some of the consequences that we do face as, women or even men who face such things. I really don't talk much about men because today the show wasn't focused on that. So when that time comes, I will come also and be a pro against violence of any type, irrespective, be it on men, women, children, whoever. It's not gender specific, or it's not gender centric, if we want to call it. Violence is violence, totally detested in our communities, let alone in the United States. Like Mr. Mbom said before his screen froze up, we don't even beat our children here in the United States. Who are we? You beat a child is going to call Child Protective Services. How come you will be beating a woman? How come you, a woman, be beating on a man? In our case of today, focusing on the women. Why will you use your wife as a punchbag? It is unhealthy, it's unacceptable, and we are hoping that that will not happen again. Mr. Ambon, we lost you for a minute, but
Yeah, sorry,
I carried
my
on the show
connections
and I
here
kept
got.
going.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I think
No worries, no
I
worries.
thought that Mr. Ngando finally got on my network, but well, again, but that was just the last minutes that we had. But I want to thank you again. Thank you very much. And I think this is something for us. This is the beginning of something that we should continue to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the passion you have. Thank you for the commitment and the dedication. And again, like we said, all we need for people to do, we need help to get reach out to me. My phone number is on this broadcast. My email is there. Let's try to get this out.
Thank you.
And not only that, once we get this out, we'll get many more. The October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we shall come back, and in the course of this, before then, we shall have any more opportunities. Any last word? I asked that before I went off, but any last word, Dr. Ntinglet?
No, we are good. I just want to appreciate everyone for watching the show. Thank you, Mr. Mbom, for hosting me and giving us the opportunity to express ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, and good evening, and see you again.